Hi, it's the Dwyer Report. You can visit us at my financial blog, keepingitfree.blogspot.com. Let's talk about what's really happening in America. The federal funds rate is 15 basis points. In other words, it's incredibly low. The Fed is basically giving away money for nothing to financial institutions who can borrow it without paying much of a premium. What that means is that our currency is being flooded and debased. The dollar has dropped in value more than 40% since 2001. The end result of this is that we right now are having a huge bubble in the bond market. Because when you debase the currency, interest rates over time are almost certain to rise. And few people will be willing to lend money to the government in an inflationary environment at 3 to 6% interest. Now that's where the bond market is priced today. If we have any inflation, those bondholders are going to be destroyed. If you destroy the mechanism by which the United States government is able to sell its debt, you're going to have an L-shaped recovery. Right now, look at the stock market. Understand that as the dollar debases, you're going to have situations where stocks nominally increase, but the nominal increase actually masks a real value decline. That's what's happening in the stock market. Just like an ounce of gold looks like it's on its way to $2,000 an ounce, we already have seen gold top $1,000 an ounce. We understand that while the underlying asset may be the same, while that bar of gold might still be that bar of gold, it's the currency that's changing that leads to the increase, or at least the perceived increase, in value. When a currency drops by 50%, you need 2 times that currency to buy the same basket of goods. That's what's happening right now in our United States stock market. Don't be fooled by the rising stock prices. Ask yourself, when you sell that stock, are you able to buy more with the proceeds from that sale today than you would have been able, in fact, than you were able to buy just 2 years ago? The answer is going to be no, because our stocks are denominated in dollars and the value of the dollar is falling. So what we have right now is what I call a virtual recovery. And it's being led by a virtual president who just won a virtual Nobel Peace Prize. Let's talk about Barack Obama. I voted for him. He gives great speeches. What exactly has he succeeded in doing other than give great speeches? He just won a Nobel Peace Prize. Let's talk about his actual record. We're still in Iraq. We're still in Afghanistan. American troops are still at risk. They are still dying. Afghanistan is worse off today than it was the day that Barack Obama took office. Now, the difference between a Nobel Peace Prize winner like Dr. King and Barack Obama is Dr. King was actually out in the community organizing. You knew Dr. King's agenda. It was integration. It was the abolition of things like grandfather clauses and racial policies. It was well defined. What exactly is Barack Obama's agenda? He purports to be a leftist while giving working class tax money to Wall Street. Isn't it preposterous that during a recession we're bailing out Wall Street and not the American taxpayer? Gays in the military. That can be done by executive order, just like the military was integrated by Harry S. Truman. But yet Barack Obama hasn't signed that executive order. He could have done that in the first 5 minutes of his presidency. He hasn't. In fact, Barack Obama is against gay marriage. Legalization of drugs. Barack Obama admits to having used drugs in his past. We have a hodgepodge right now in the United States where some states have medicinal marijuana, other states don't. California right now is in the red by such a huge amount that they just issued more than $4 billion in bonds this last week. Now, against this backdrop, where drug legalization might actually help get government revenue, might actually save the money of drug enforcement, and might actually help addicts get help. That's not even on the table with the Obama agenda. Gitmo has not been closed. The Patriot Act has not been rolled back. In other words, there is a disconnect between the speeches being given and the actual actions being taken. This is a public relations marketing presidency with very little inside the balloon. So it'll be interesting to see where things go from here, but one thing is certain. Our economy is still in tatters. Take the housing market. You cannot have a housing recovery when you have the highest level of apartment vacancies in the last 23 years. Those numbers were actually released earlier this week. If you have falling rental prices, you cannot have rising house prices. Nonetheless, we're hearing propaganda. So to sum up, things look terrible. Our recovery is going to be choppy at best. I'm normally an optimist, but I also have to be a realist. And the reason this video might sound jarring is because we've been spoon-fed a steady dose of propaganda by an administration that makes public pronouncements and then does not act on them. This is a president who, as a candidate, talked about withdrawing from Iraq. The last I looked, he was actually trying to dictate Iraq's use of nuclear energy. So expect choppiness. Japan just went through a lost decade. In the United States, quite frankly, our fundamentals might be even worse. The end result of our weak dollar policy, forget what Geithner's saying, look at what the administration is doing. The end result of our weak dollar policy is going to be rising oil and commodity prices that are going to hit the working class particularly hard, since right now we're dealing with almost double-digit unemployment according to U.S. numbers. If you look closely at the unemployment report, if our unemployment rate was measured like they do in Europe, it would be over 16%. This is the Dwyer Report. Visit us at keepingitfree.blogspot.com and leave your comments for us here on YouTube. Thank you.